At least 2 civilians have been killed in air raids launched by Russian military jets on several villages in Syria's northwest Idlib province, according to activists and rescuers.
The attacks on Monday were the first since a ceasefire brokered by Turkey and Russia came into effect more than 3 months ago, helping halt major fighting in Syria's last rebel-held enclave.
The air raids hit a string of villages in Jabal al-Zawiya, southern Idlib, and in towns in Sal al-Ghab, an area bordering neighboring Hama province.
Walid Aslan, a member of the Syrian Civil Defense, also known as the White Helmets, a volunteer search and rescue group that operates in rebel-held parts of Syria, said 2 people were killed after their homes were stuck in the attacks.
2 people died so far and 3 others were injured in the town of Al-Mausra, Aslan told Al Jazeera from the town of Aria.
He said men, women and children were fleeing from their homes in Jabal al-Zawiya towards the north fearing more air raids.
Obada Dandouche, a pro-opposition activist in the area, confirmed the 2 deaths and said at least 12 towns were targeted as civilians fled.
There are 2 civilian deaths and several injuries so far, Dandouche told Al Jazeera, identifying the 2 civilians as Mustafa al-Hamsho, 30, and Hussein al-Aboud, 38.
There was no immediate comment by the Syrian government or Russian officials.
The ceasefire, negotiated in March by opposition backer Turkey and Syrian government ally Russia, halted a bloody 3-month air and ground campaign that killed hundreds of people.
It also created the worst displacement crisis of the war in Syria, now in its 10th year. Nearly 1 million people were forced to flee, with many seeking shelter in the already overcrowded camps near the sealed border with Turkey.
While some had returned to their homes over the past 3 months, most remained in the area near the Turkish border.
According to Aslan, families who fled towards the border on Monday were fleeing for the 2nd time this year.
Home to some 3 million people, the Idlib region of the northwest is controlled by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham (HTS), a former al-Qaeda affiliate, and other rebel groups.
In the past, Russia has cited the HTS's presence as the reason for attacking areas in Syria's Idlib.
Last week, Russian air raids targeted Sal al-Ghab, but no injuries were reported.
At the time, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights (SOR), a United Kingdom-based war monitor, said the attacks were intended to push opposition fighters away from the key M4 highway in northern Syria, where Turkish and Russian forces often conduct joint patrols as part of the Truce agreement.
They were also intended to push HTS and its allies further away from the Sal al-Ghab area, where government and Russian forces are present, it added.
After holding barely a fifth of the country 5 years ago, Russian intervention has helped the government reclaim control of more than 70% of Syria.
In the northwest, HTS and its allies control about half of Idlib province and slivers of territory in the neighboring provinces of Hama, Latakia and Aleppo.
In recent years, Moscow and Ankara have become the main power brokers in Syria, shattered by a civil war since 2011.
The war in Syria has killed hundreds of thousands of people and displaced millions more.
Additional reporting by Farah Najjar.